All right, so today we have with us Clinton Cohen and Scott Simpson from Tradiepad, which is a tradie software and technology training organisation that was built by tradies for tradies. Now, both Clinton and Scott are here today to share some of their thoughts and unique insights around software and tech in the industry and how trade business owners can best go about implementing and leveraging it to help them achieve a trade business success. So let's get stuck into it.
G'day guys, how are you?
Very well.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having us on today. Awesome to be having a chat.
Yeah, it's a great topic, this, especially around the software and tech. It's an area where a lot of people can get very overwhelmed very quickly with all the different options out there. So I'm excited to get into this chat and get some of your insights, which should be good.
Cool.
Fantastic. So I guess first question, can you guys just give us, well, the viewers, I guess, a bit of a breakdown of what Tradiepad is and specifically what you guys do?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So I guess the biggest thing to mention is that we're not an app. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that we're a software company and that we're an app. You know, I get that question all the time. People go, what does your app do? And a good answer to that would be everything. But no, we're not a software company. We're a service business. We're a training organisation. So we help businesses initially understand which software is going to be right for them to use, which job or project management software would be the right one for them, and then teach them how to use it. Because the business has been around for 10 years now, and it came about from my experience as a plumber, looking for some tools and some solutions to run the plumbing business that I was involved in. And 10 years ago, the options were a lot more limited than what they are these days. But I ended up putting together a solution of a calendar system and a simple invoicing app that could be used on an iPad when iPads were first released. And it was an absolute game changer. It changed everything. So it took the business from pen and paper, from paper everywhere, job cards, diaries, invoice books, quote books, job folders, everything was paper, had the dashboard covered with paper. And it didn't happen overnight, but we became paperless, pretty much a paperless organisation. And 10 years ago, that was absolutely unheard of. So, it was a real epiphany, I suppose. And I realised that there was a big opportunity to help other businesses do what we had done within the plumbing business that I was in. And so I broke away from plumbing and started helping mates that were plumbers and sparkies around the northern beaches of Sydney do the same thing, and it's grown from there. So initially, yeah, exactly. So it came out of necessity, I suppose. And initially, when we first started, there wasn't a lot of options, like I said. But now, with all the different job management systems and project management systems that are out there, it's a completely different beast from what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I have a question around that actually, Clinton, is, we've been involved in the same sort of thing, trade businesses and software. There is just thousands and thousands of apps, software programs that all do different functions. So in today's environment, I guess, everyone still thinks they're a unique business and that they need unique specialities in particular software, which, partly is true in terms of just how people like to operate and things like that. But here's a question is, what's your process you go through to determine, whether a company is ready for taking on software? Is that one of the biggest challenges you find? Because we see it a lot, is people skip straight to the software, but they're not ready yet. So what's your process you take people through in getting ready for a software implementation?
It's very much around education, and it starts from the initial inquiry. So I can probably hand this over to Scott to have a talk about kind of where we begin with the conversation when someone comes to us and says, oh, hey, I want some help with some technology. Where do I begin? It starts with awareness. It starts with education.
Absolutely. Well, for us, it's, there's a couple of things when a client reaches out to us is to make sure that, we're the right people to be looking after them, but also get an initial understanding of their business by asking a few different questions, because this gives us a bit of an idea on where the business is at. Like Clinton's mentioned with education, that's important, but letting the client know what they're in for. So right from the very beginning, before they've even taken the first step in Tradiepad, we give them a very thorough run through of our process from woe to go. Okay, that and the first step for a client, if they engage, is to actually book one of our scoping sessions in. Okay, this is where we find out what they do, how they do it, what they ideally want to achieve. And that could be with software, it could be just I'm pulling my hair out. I'm spending like 4 hours each night, in the office. What do I do? And in that scoping session, getting a really good understanding of not only the business, but also the people in it. It's a massive thing. Like you can have someone that's been using a diary for 20 years. You could have someone that's tried and failed 2 or 3 times with software implementation. So getting a good understanding and then making a recommendation based on that business. Okay. And then demonstrating the software, which is really important, so we can prove what we've been talking about in theory is going to work practically for the business and the people in it. It's a big thing. But I think the key thing with getting people ready is setting very clear expectations and being honest with them. So we get everything out of the way as much as we can before they get into this process, because going through any change process is challenging for humans.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Just on that, because Clinton made the point that Tradiepad now has been around for 10 years. Have you seen, obviously, has your process evolved, being from 2011, what tradesmen knew then, to 2021, what tradesmen know now? How's that process evolved, and I guess what challenges have you faced along the way?
Yeah, it's changed massively. But both from our client's perspective. So initially in the early days, we used to get questions around the cloud. What is the cloud? Do I trust it? How does all of this stuff work? Whereas there's a lot less questions about that these days. It's just an accepted part of business. Everyone's using internet banking. Everyone's should be using cloud-based accounting software, and it's a lot more accepted now. And it's more around, okay, well, what are the functions that are going to work for me? And we're getting a lot more. There's a lot more expectations around automation and data extraction, and it's evolved. The whole kind of expectation around technology has evolved, and people's knowledge of technology has evolved. But our process and the business maturity has evolved as well. We've got now a team of 10 people in the business. We've got lots and lots and lots and lots of clients in all sorts of different areas. And we've got a whole range of different solutions that we work with now as well. In the early days, it was really kind of one size fits all for the size of businesses that we were working with. But we've now got a huge range of businesses, from sole traders to enterprise level, and a whole range of solutions that kind of fit into the mix with all of those. And so our process has had to evolve, and our offering has had to evolve as well to suit that range of clients. So yeah, absolutely, it's been a real journey.
Scott mentioned that getting to know the people, and I couldn't agree more, because sometimes you can meet people that are really tech savvy, and then other people great on the tools, not so much with tech. They struggle with email. So in choosing software to the company, where do you sit in upskilling those people or dumbing down the software solution? How do you grade the capacity of the company that you're putting it into when you're choosing software? Is that an important factor in part of your considerations?
Huge.
It's a loaded question, by the way.
It's a huge consideration, and it can be a bit of a maybe challenge to make people aware of that and make them aware of their shortcomings. But again, it's just part of that education process. With Scott mentioned before, we do a scoping session with all of our clients to learn about their business and what they do. But it's also a chance to start to educate people about technology, about devices in general, mobile devices, Apple versus Android, and what the cloud does, and why you have to have cloud-based accounting. We get less of those questions these days, but it's all part of that education to make sure that there is a foundation of knowledge in place before they progress into an actual implementation. And part of that is getting a feel for where someone sits. And a lot of people, when they come to us, they're not afraid to say, look, I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to computers. And we know that. That's why I started the business in the first place, because my business partner, if I hadn't set it all up and put it in his hand and taught him how to use it, he probably never would have done it. So I know that whole education and hand holding to get people comfortable with the technology is a huge part of it. And those businesses that come to us that are already using something are definitely a bit of a step ahead. But at the same time, it's not difficult. You know, people know how to use Facebook and go into the sports bet app and whatever. It's the same kind of thing. You know, it's just a job management system. There's a bit more to it than that, obviously, but it's not as hard as people expect. The biggest hurdle is a lot of the times in here, and people. Again, part of our process is getting people ready for change, and up until now, all of our inquiries are inbound. Everybody is inquiring. They're coming into us. We don't bother cold calling people or trying to convince someone that's not ready. They have to be ready for change. They have to be in the right mindset to say, okay, I know there's a better way to run my business. I know I'm feeling lots of pain from the way I'm doing it. I'm ready to change. And until someone is at that, yeah, absolutely. Until they're at that point, it can be a real challenge. So with some of the challenging projects we've done over the years, it's been where there's been conflicting people within the business. One person's ready and going, we have to do this. And the other person's, they're being dragged, kicking and screaming.
I still eat and chalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen plenty of those over the years.
One question I've got for you, you know, we've seen technology really improve and all this software, there's so many choices. What are you seeing that's, like a bespoke solution with multiple pieces of software, or are you seeing, software evolve where they do a lot of things very well now rather than just snippets? Where do you see the sweet spot in terms of how much software you put into a company for what purposes? Is that sort of changed from 10 years ago to now?
Not a huge amount, I don't think. I think we're quite lucky with the software that's been developed for the construction industry. It is quite comprehensive, and I would say I wouldn't say one-stop shop, but most businesses can get away with what we would call operational software, which would be a job or project management system and an accounting package.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the minimum. You have to have those two things, because none of the job management or project management software products are going to do what a good accounting system can do. So, something like Xero is a cloud-based accounting tool. It focuses on accounting and it's exceptionally good at it. And trying to get a job management system or a project management system to do what Xero does is ridiculous. Why would you? When you can have the two of them connected to each other and feeding information in and out of each other and working together as one. So that's kind of the minimum.
Yeah.
But then we are definitely starting to see more and more tools being used within businesses, whether it's email systems like Office 365 or Google Workspace or Zoho or something like that, and then CRM tools, so email marketing and digital marketing tools. So we are definitely starting to see more of those types of tools come into the mix. And it is still early days for a lot of integrations into the job or project management systems, but things other than accounting packages. It is starting to change, but it is still early days for all that stuff.
And then we're seeing things like Xero too is promoted as, hey, you can run your business on Xero, which couldn't be further from the truth. It's a great accounting package, but it's not something you can run your business on. And it's, that understanding of needing to separate your job management software to your accounting software and how they should be structured, like with the account codes and, where cost of goods sold are placed in there. And, so there's always that tussle that needs to go on in moving the mindset from what accountants say you should use to from a tax perspective to what you really need to know your numbers from a job management, where you're breaking down the different job types, your costs going to various elements of the job rather than overheads. And so, yeah, it's quite interesting, the mix and the change that's happening right now with all the different software that's being implemented.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm a bit surprised that it hasn't progressed more than it has in 10 years. When I first started the business, I thought, in 10 years' time, everyone will be using technology. Everything will be automated. There'll be these, you just have a magic wand and you'll wave it and it'll solve all your problems. But yeah, obviously we're not at that stage yet. But it's actually taken a bit longer than I thought it would have to get to this, or to get to that point of, I wouldn't say complete automation, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens in the next 5 years. Things obviously speed up as we go along. So yeah, excited to see what the future holds.
So just to add on to that, Clinton, one of the things that we've found is the expectations of people with software have changed with the evolution of software, but that hasn't made it any easier for people out there. In fact, if anything, there's more options, there's more things that have more functions. And so we get people coming to us and they've tried to piece together multiple bits of software to get the functionality that they're after. So it's really, whereas in 10 years ago, there wasn't many options, there wasn't much knowledge. Now there's almost too much options out there. And a little bit of knowledge is a little bit dangerous, I reckon. And so people end up to come to us and they want to, okay, we've got all these products, what do we do? We've gone out, we picked this one for this one and that one for that one. And yeah, we sometimes see people come through with maybe 4 to 5 different products doing different things. And it's it has the opposite effect. Yeah, fragmented or silos.
Yeah, I guess in tangent with everything we've been talking about here. So over the years, and I guess over the last 10 years, what have you guys found to be the biggest challenges that trade business owners have faced when it's actually come to implementing or even integrating software and tech within their business?
Do you want to start with that, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first one is finding the right software. That's a big one. So finding a software that's suited to the business, the workflow, and the people in it. We've talked about the people and the different types of people and their limited exposure or experience with technology. Because it's like we have people come to us, for example, that have tried, not just trialed software, but actually implemented, rolled it out to their staff 2 or 3 times, and failed every single time. So they come to us on that 4th time, and they still haven't got it right. It's a big thing, and I think also too, it's, again, we've talked about this before, is expectations of what the software can do, what they've read that the software can do and what it can actually do.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, the big thing is, is being ready for the change. And we've talked about that already. And one thing I appreciate with trades and construction owners that have been through it, 1, 2, 3 times, is that they still want to actually do it. They're still willing to give it a crack because they want something better or they want to be able to automate their business. So those are
awesome. Yeah. I guess from your original point, where the very foundation where you start is that scoping process that you have, and really getting to know the capacity of the people within the business, what they've tried before, what they're hoping to achieve out of it, and really understanding where they want to go, and then marrying that in. And you can't do that unless you've done that process. So that would spend a fair bit of your time sort of going through that, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. The scoping process that we go through is one-on-one with a business, and we get the business to fill out an assessment form before the scoping session, which has a whole bunch of questions about the business, the current systems and the current methodologies, and so there's a lot of answers that come out of that assessment form. But then that also brings up a bunch of questions to run through. Yeah. And so that scoping process lasts 90 minutes to, sometimes we'll extend out to a couple of hours. But typically at the end of that session, we've got a really clear understanding of the business, and we're able to make a recommendation on which system is going to be right for them and why. And like Scott said before, we have done a bit of a demonstration on how we would see it working, because a lot of times things work in theory. This system will work because it does this, this, and this. But when you get into practice and you actually show how it's going to work, sometimes in practice it's not actually practical. So yeah, typically 90 minutes to a couple of hours is enough time to go through the basics of the business and be able to make a recommendation. But then we've had projects where we've started on a particular product because it's looked like the right system, and we've had to switch halfway through a project, because it's not until you actually get in and get your hands dirty and develop some workflows and go, okay, well, we're going to do this, this, and this, and then they go, well, actually, we actually do it this other way. And it's not until you start to get into the detailed workflows that all the information can come out. And this is where it can be a real challenge for a business owner to do this themselves. And this is what Scott said before, people have done it 2 or 3 times when they come to us because they don't know. And it's not until you actually get involved with a piece of software that you know its capabilities, what it can do, what it can't do, and how it functions. And this is another one of the big challenges for people, is the time that it takes to get that level of knowledge of one piece of software to be able to rule it in or rule it out.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things we do here at Trade Business Success is when we go into companies to help them with every part of their processes. People go, oh, when are we going to get into software and technology? And we go, that's the very last thing we do. First, you got to understand the process of what you're wanting to do. So if you got to document the process, or we take it back to those fundamentals, start getting the right mix of, what market are they in? What business do they want to do? Who are they going to go after? What are the customer things? What do you want to say to these customers, and when? How is that to be presented to the customer? And once you map all that out, then the software choice can come after that. So it's very interesting that you guys have a similar process with, mapping that out. It's a very important core part before you can suggest the software.
I would imagine that you'd have a lot of your clients that don't know the answers to those questions as well.
Oh, absolutely. We re-engineer everything at the front end to great detail. And, it's not, when you get to simple, you can't go straight to simple. You've got to go through the complexities to get to simple. So you've got to go deeper and understand what's happening to then simplify a process. And I think that's part of the things that can be a real challenge with software. We've done a number of different software integrations from large companies to smaller ones over the years ourselves. And it's just one of those things that you can't just skip to that simplistic end view without sort of really dealing with the stuff before that. It's a very big part of the process.
And I guess just on that tangent as well, something we found is a lot of businesses even try to, when it comes to software, they want the software to mold to what they've already got. Where a lot of the times it's actually the reverse. You've got to mold to the software, because a lot of times the software is built in a way, and the processes within the software are actually the optimal process that you should be following. So it's readjusting people's processes and how they do things, especially in that sales process, how they go about that. And then, okay, now let's look at implementing the software, because now you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, because that's so important. And even you made the point of automation, is a lot of the times our clients, they're talking about, they want to automate everything. And it's like, yes, it's great. You want to automate a lot of those manual functions, but it also comes back to the high touch points with the customers. You can't automate everything, because then you're losing the customer touch points and you're losing that customer experience. And that is so critical in, I guess, delivering an exceptional service and an exceptional experience for the client.
We call it people trying to abdicate their responsibilities to software.
Yeah.
And it's a magnifier. Software is a great magnifier. But if you've got shit processes, it'll magnify how bad it is. But if you've got good processes, the software will absolutely optimize and maximize, your efforts. So it's a biggie, that one.
Troy, what you mentioned there about the adapting, the business adapting to those processes and workflows within the software is a huge one. So many people come to us and they say, I run my business my way and the software has to work like this.
Yeah.
And where do we go from there? You know, it's sometimes we can get a fit, but a lot of times we can't.
Yeah.
And it comes down to, okay, you're going to have to compromise. Yeah, unless you're prepared to compromise, your only option is going to be go and build your own.
Yeah.
We tried that.
Yeah. This is from personal experience and client experience as well. We went, Warren went down that rabbit hole, and
massively, and you know,
big learning curve. Yeah.
Yeah, basically threw it all away.
Yeah.
Now I've got a big hole in my wallet.
Yeah. But that's a lesson for anyone listening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Leverage experts like Tradiepad. Don't go about trying to build your own software. It's a time suck and it's a money suck.
Yeah. With very little result at the end of it.
Yeah.
Zero result at the end of it.
Yeah. So I guess in alignment with that is, where do you believe trade business owners actually make the greatest mistakes when it comes to choosing and implementing software or technology within their business?
There's two parts. There's two pieces there. The choosing and the implementing are very, very different. So we might break that apart. So in choosing, goodness me, we see a lot of people that they choose a system that doesn't suit their operational model of their business. And when I say operational model, the way that they run the admin and they operate the business, whether they've got people in the office that can be sitting at a computer, driving the system all day, every day, and there's people in the field just doing the work, versus a business owner that's fielding phone calls, managing the admin, and on the tools and on the road. So it's a very high level separator, but there's a lot of people that make the mistake of thinking that a system that's built for that first model of having people in the office to drive everything is going to work for a business that's on the road, a business owner and trying to run the business and be on the road. So that's a big one, and also the people that are in the business who are going to be using the system day in, day out. Technology for a lot of tradies does not come naturally. And so overwhelming them with something that's too advanced can have a really, really negative impact. Scott, what else would you say?
On choosing, I think making a decision based on what a website says. Okay, that's a big thing, because you'll read a website and it says we cover all these industries and we've got all this functionality. Great, let's give it a crack. Making assumptions on how the system's going to work, rather than having in-depth knowledge about actually how it does work. Another one which ties into that is choosing a software based on what a mate has said, or even a similar business is using. Like we've had businesses that come in and they're apart from the people and the requirements, they pretty much do exactly the same thing. Okay, Clinton, fantastic. You're using this. I'm going to give it a crack. And so away they go. But Clinton and Scott have completely different requirements and expectations. So we'll have two businesses that come in that do similar or the same things, do a scoping session and get recommended different pieces of software.
Absolutely.
I've heard all sorts of things. I had a chat to a guy at the bus stop and he's using this.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, sounds good. We'll give it a crack.
Or someone shows them their phone and go, oh, look what this software does. It's really good. Yeah. We run our business on it. Oh, we want that too.
Yeah. So I think ultimately it comes down to not spending the time to do the research and do the due diligence that's required to confidently make a decision to why has that piece of software been chosen.
And I guess with 10 years of in the trenches with you guys, intimately knowing a variety of softwares nowadays, obviously you can't be over the thousands of them, but you've narrowed it down to probably a really good mix of them, and knowing them very well, that shortcuts people's processes to get the right software out of the gate and without all the stress and headaches.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we've made mistakes over the years as well, and that's part of the learning experience. It's making those errors, but we've made the errors so that our clients don't have to.
Yeah.
And that's the experience that they can leverage. And then when it comes to implementing the software, the errors or the mistakes that we've seen over the years would be, I reckon, around lack of planning, not having a clear, structured rollout plan for the business, and taking into consideration the data structure and data migration or data entry of all the customers and the jobs, and then workflow development. So building out, okay, this is how we're going to create our jobs. This is where the information is going to go. This is how it's going to get given to the guys in the field. This is what's expected for them to do, and then training. Mm-hmm. So many times we see businesses where they'll say, oh, our guys didn't use the app. All right, did you give them any training? No, we just installed it on their phone. We said, here, use this. And that's a real quick way to disaster, because again, a lot of tradies technology's not first nature for them. So having a bit of guidance and a bit of training on what those workflows look like and what's expected of them, and having a plan around how we're going to do it and a go live date and all those things, I think the 7 Ps goes a long way.
Yeah, and you made an interesting point there, because the trainings really bring it back to the people, because that's often the forgotten element, but the most important element in the whole implementation. Because unless your people, and if you've got a team especially, if the team aren't sold on the why are we implementing this software? What's the power of this software? How is this helping me? Because if it's making their job harder, they're not going to want to implement this. So it's so important on making sure everyone's on board, because you want each individual player in your team being a champion for the software, not you trying to push and shove people along the way and trying to they're kicking and screaming, they don't want to do it. You're going to have a real hard time implementing it. So it's really important to remember that people factor and selling your people on the why.
Probably actually a thesis is end of year honours thesis on implementing software into businesses, and one of the biggest outcomes of that was the people factor. It was amazing.
And it was a simple little diagram I had in the end after 12 months of research, and it was I forget all the factors, but there was process, leadership, and the technology, and they're the areas that people focus on. Then I did a big circle around it and circled it with people, because it does that. You can do all those things, but if people aren't on board, good luck. Good luck, essentially. So
and having the right people on board as well, that's critical. Having the key people there that are firstly there to help input and give the information that we need, to either scope or implement the product. Because without those people, Clinton said it before, when you gave the example of one person was driving the technology, the other person was being dragged. Okay, it's having everybody on the same page, and sometimes we'll come across that. We'll come across people that are really, really unsure. Okay, and we approach that in a different way, because they need confidence, they need their trust built, that what they're looking at doing is actually going to work for them, especially if they've been burnt 2 or 3 times. Those are the conversations that I used to enjoy having the most when I was talking to the inquiries and people that were finding out about Tradiepad, is the people that had been through that process, because the only benefit to that is they come out of the other side more savvy. And so the conversations can be quite challenging, but at the end of the day, we've got nothing to hide. We'll be transparent. We can understand what they've been through. It's now, okay, we understand what you've been through. Let's take you through the process, rebuild your trust and give you confidence that the right technology is still the way to go.
Yeah, you see it on, not only job management software, but people that have been down the, I'll try that digital marketing and Google ads and Facebook ads, and they go, it doesn't work. And they've just burned a lot of money and got nothing from it. So done well. All those platforms are fantastic, but it's about accessing experts like yourself to get the right one in the first place.
And get the best results from your efforts as well. That's a big one.
So I guess go on, Clint. So I was going to say, Troy, unfortunately, if you go and talk to the software companies, they're going to tell you what you want to hear, and they're going to tell you all the stuff that they do, and not the stuff that they don't do, because it's in their best interest. You know, it's a sales team that's there to sell their product. That's all they do. So it's a different conversation. You know, we come at it from a neutral perspective of, you know, what are the actual requirements? Do you really need that? Yeah, how's that going to work for you?
Yeah.
So it's a different conversation.
And there could be real peace of mind when clients actually come to you, because knowing that you're in a position of neutrality where you don't, you know, you might have your partnerships with certain companies and whatnot, but you're not specifically the sales rep who's making a commission on the sales of certain softwares. You're there for the client's best interest, and you're going to make sure that you damn well implement the best software for them, because when they win, you win. When they become a raving fan of Tradiepads, you win, because, you know, that's better for you and your positioning. But again, that's a fantastic position to come from.
And particularly with being business operations centric, I think that's really important, that, you know, it's not software centric or say accountancy centric or anything like that. It's business operational centric, takes into consideration the customer. You know, what's the customer experience? How do we get the right processes to deliver the customer experience? And then you marry the software and then technology around that.
100%. So I guess another question for you guys: what do you feel is the biggest win that your clients get once they actually implement the right software or technology into their business?
Go, Clinton.
And don't say fishing. Yeah. Don't say more fishing.
Yeah. you know Scott too well. Somehow Scott manages to find out from our clients whether they love fishing or not. The number of our clients that love fishing is just, it's crazy. Maybe Scott just
started a new business coming up.
Yes, stay tuned. But we have a process in place in the business, and this is part of the evolution of how how the business has changed over the years. But we've got a process in place now where we've got a few different checkpoints where we'll check in with the business and assess their progress. And my favorite part of it is we do a 3-month or a 6-month check-in with the client, just to see how they've gone after the implementation. So that's the time when the dust has settled and they've had a chance to really see the benefits. And those calls that I have with clients, they're just absolutely gushing with the improvements that they see. So things like just more visibility of the business, actually having data, having information and data that they can use to make decisions.
I mean, real day and night, that sort of thing, can't it?
Oh, wow. Unbelievable. You know, people saying, oh, we thought that this area of our business was actually making us money, but we're actually losing money from it. So we've cut it out completely. And before having a system and having something that's tracking that information, you're just going off gut feel. And that's the way tradies have always had to do it, because we haven't had the tools. But once you've got the tools and you've got the data in front of you, it's just like you said, night and day, Warren. So having that information and that transparency of the business, and then growth, being able to grow, so confidently make decisions on, I'm going to employ more people or add another truck or move into this area of business or whatever it is, but they have that ability to grow confidently. So I guess that's from the business side of things, but our real driver is the personal freedom that people can experience, because Scott will be testament to this. People come to us in pain, working way more hours than they should be working and not making the money they should be making. And so that freedom, they get time back. They're actually profitable. And when you combine the technology and the tools with the work that you guys do, it's just like a rocket ship.
Yeah.
So taking Scott out fishing by the sounds of it. No need for Scott to own a boat. He's always out with the clients.
Won't need to twist my arm very far for that one.
That's fantastic. Just you made an interesting point there, Clinton, where you said after 6 months the dust is settled. And this is actually something I completely forgot to note, is whenever we're talking to clients about implementing software or technology, there's always this overwhelming burden or concern that, oh, the amount of money we got to dump into this and the time we're going to waste before it actually comes in as a benefit for us, way down the track. How long do you actually see that time or that gap between when it's, okay, we're implementing to when it's really being a benefit? Because a lot of the times we see clients overestimating what that cost involved is going to be, especially the small businesses. Obviously, once you get a bit bigger, it's a bit more complex. But for the smaller guys, it's not usually a big period, is it?
I guess it's, that 4 stages of learning. There's the unconscious incompetence that you don't know what you're doing. Then it's the total awareness and consciously that you got no idea what you're doing and you're having to work hard. Then moving to just that unconsciously competent and it's all happening very smooth. So where does that sit in a timeline? I mean, a big factor is the training you guys would provide, and after 10 years you nailed it. But how long would you say a good implementation would go to reach that sweet spot that Troy was just alluding to? Yeah.
Starting to see benefit and see return on investment. Yeah, I would say pretty quickly. Scott does our feedback calls that we do. It's about the 4-week mark, Scott.
Yep, between 4 and 6 weeks. Yep.
That's brilliant.
That's right in the crux of the project. Okay, that's right when people are going just about to or have gone live with software. So they've they can still be struggling at that point, but they depending on where the business is at with the way they've adopted the software or the way they've learned. I'll often get this in the feedback session, which is, at the start I was really struggling with this. I couldn't see the forest from the trees, but as slowly things went on, I can actually see how this is going to work now. We find that can often be a motivator for clients as well. So I would say 4 to 6 weeks for the initial changes, and then leading up to the 3 and the 6 month mark. Before Clinton actually talks to them, and they've gone, they might have been used, depending on the software, they might have been using it live for 2 to 4 months. It's really starting to embed in their business and in their people, and they're really starting to see the benefits then.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess along on this tangent is, aside from leveraging experts like yourself, how should a trade business owner go about trying to choose and implement the right software for their business?
Oh, that's an easy one. Just ring these guys. Ring Cody. Next question.
It only takes 10 years.
There's a lot of people, banging their head against the wall going, why isn't this working? And it's like, just ring these guys. Yeah. Problem solved.
It comes down to learning the systems.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge for us as well to keep up with all these things and keep up with the change, because it's the nature of the technology and the tools that we're working with, that they're evolving, they're changing all the time. It's not like the old days where you've got a piece of software and they do like an annual update, and you don't have too much new learning to have to do. But with some of our software partners, they've got like 2-week sprints where they're rolling out stuff every 2 weeks. Yeah. So I think it's taking the time to learn and get in-depth hands-on knowledge of the different products and how they're going to work for your business, not off what the website says or what the salesperson at the software company has said to you. It's actually you seeing it and testing it with your own workflows, and that takes time.
We see, just in coaching businesses and advising businesses, that guidance and the hand-holding is, when they hit a brick wall, they'd struggle in silence, but now they ask the question. And when they ask the question, we can sometimes solve those or help them solve it very quickly. You guys are kind of like that not only software choosers, but, you're the guiding hand to coaching them on, don't use it that way. If you're struggling with that, here, do this. And it's just like, and you're just shortening that learning curve. And more importantly, from a 4 to 6 weeks payback on the investment to get the software going, that's a really short time frame. But the upside of getting coaching or guidance like you guys provide with the software, it massively impacts the results coming in, and you kind of wonder why people do it alone sometimes.
And it's interesting because what you were just saying there, it actually kind of re-highlights the importance of using your services, because you're making the point that the most important thing to do is actually become very familiar and understand these softwares, not just from what the website's saying, but to understand them and understand how they impact your workflows and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's a really hard thing to do for your regular business owner. They're already, their time's already consumed as it is. So to find that time and that money to be able to spend those months and months of uncovering all that, when they could just come to a service like yours and, I guess, fast track that entire process with people who already have that knowledge.
It sounds like an ad for Tradiepad.
Well, we're a big believer of software, but you got to get the underlying processes right first. But even us, we do things well, but we don't intimately know all of the different softwares out on the market. And you go to those specialties, you don't go to your general practitioner, doctor. You might start there, but if you need elbow surgery, you don't go and see a foot surgeon, you see the elbow surgeon, and and that guy, all he does is elbows. You guys, all you do is software and software implementation for tradespeople. So seeking out the best of people in what they do and seeking advice, we're all for it.
And that's a really important message, because it's not only for you guys with tech and software, it's every area of the business. You really got to be looking for those specialists that have the knowledge to help you, because that's how you get the best results. We've had that with ourselves as well. As soon as you try and go down the rabbit holes by yourself, yes, there's some merit in doing that, so you understand at, I guess, a fundamental level a lot of things, but to invest all the time and energy in going deep into certain areas like tech and software, it's just not worth it, you doing that by yourself. You should be going and seeking expert specialists, especially in 2021, with the amount of software suites that are out there, all the different packages. You'd be mad to do that on your own.
We work with a lot of bookkeepers and accountants around the country as well, and we use that GP and specialist analogy quite frequently with them. We're working with, we do some educational sessions for bookkeepers and accountants around app advisory, and part of the decision for them is, do you want to really invest the time to look at all of these different software products, or work with a specialist like us where we can work together as a team? You focus on the accounting and the financial advisory and the zero side of things, or the MIB or whatever it might be, and working with a specialist that's, when combined, the sum is greater than the parts. It's the same with you guys.
Definitely,
100%. Yeah. So if you could give only one piece of advice about software implementation to anyone listening, what would it be?
Scott, what do you reckon?
Oh, look, we're just going back to blowing our own trumpet, but getting a specialist involved from the start, 100% can save massive time and headaches. I was listening to what you were saying before, Troy. When you're doing it yourself and you run into a roadblock when you're doing that, that can be it for a business owner. This is too hard. This software's not right for me. I'm going to go back to market and carry on looking.
Yeah.
Or go back to doing what I was doing before and just don't worry about technology.
Even worse, go back to the old ways. Yeah.
100%. No, great advice. So I guess as the final overarching question to this whole interview, which has been great, and this is going to tie everything together, why do you believe that software and technology is necessary for a trade business owner to achieve trade business success?
So we highlighted a lot of personal and business benefits. So I think they're a given. There's a huge number of benefits, to business growth and business improvement, profitability, professionalism, all that kind of stuff. But I think ultimately technology is here to stay. It's not going away, and consumers are changing. We're all in the business of servicing consumers, servicing our clients, and their expectations are evolving as well with technology, and they're expecting more and more levels of service. So those businesses that don't have some type of technology running their operations and can provide that next level of customer service, they're just going to get left behind. So
into virtual reality in no time. The virtual reality goggles.
Only you could clear a drain
Yeah.
Probably are.
It's an interesting point though, because I guess that's almost a forgotten reason is meeting the customer where they're at. Customers have evolved and what they're expecting from a service is evolving, and technology being part of that is part of the solution of providing a greater customer experience and greater customer service. So if you're not on board with that, you're falling behind, and that's only going to accelerate more as technology
they want to see the quotes, they want to be able to sign it, they want the literature there, they want it emailed to them, all of those things that they, service reports, photographs associated with those sort of things. This technology can do all that, and the customer experience is just phenomenal. And I guess that's it, isn't it? If tradesmen aren't willing to jump on board that, they'll be overtaken by people that do embrace technology.
That's right. The world's moving on.
10 years ago, when was Tradiepad version 1, we had calendar and the quoting invoicing app called Invoice to Go. We'd rock up to a customer's property and do some work, and then create the invoice there on the spot and email it to them, and that blew people away. They're like, "What the hell? This plumber has just..." And we were taking payments as well. We had eWay on our iPads, and we'd take a credit card payment, and that just absolutely blew people away. And that generated so much word of mouth for us. Because of the professionalism, and there was this stigma associated with tradies. They never give you a quote, they'll never give you an invoice, and so that was massive. But now they're expecting textages when you're on the way, and they want to know if you're running late, and they want to know if there's all these expectations that have just kind of jumped up and up and up. So
you can pay $10 for a pizza, and you can track it to your doorstep. Why, if you're paying several $1,000s for a plumber, I'll use plumbers because they're very expensive. If you're paying several $1,000s for a plumber, you want to track him on the way. So it's as you said, technology's here to stay, and those who embrace it will win.
100%. So, any closing words on this topic before we close out this interview?
One of my favorites is technology is your friend. So don't be scared. Don't be scared of it. People fear what they don't understand, and that's only natural. But it is really there as a tool to help you. So don't be scared of it.
That's an important point there. It's a tool. It's it's not something separate. It's just a tool, like a pair of pliers or a wrench or a shifter. It's just a tool, and used properly, it can do wondrous things.
And it's something you're using every day as well.
Exactly.
Using this tool to run your business, that's how important it is.
It's probably the most important tool in your business, largely in a lot of aspects. So
absolutely.
So a fantastic interview. But how can people find out about Tradiepad?
I'll just add one more thing to the closing words as well. You mentioned it before, building that network of specialists that you have in your business. Don't think that you have to do it all yourself. Know that there are people that can help with it if you want to engage them, if you want to bring them in. And I think I'm probably preaching to the converted. If they're clients of you guys already, then they understand the benefit of having advisors and having specialists involved in the business. But that's the big thing. Don't think you've got to do it all yourself. Be prepared to build that team of people around you to have the keys to success for your business.
Absolutely. It's one of the things is your network is great. Your greatest business asset is your personal network. And take the time as a tradesman. If you're worried about doing paperwork and shuffling and not using technology, you're not having time to build those networks, client networks, partner networks, your fellow tradesmen associations, be a part of that, build the network. And when you need help, everyone will be there cheering you on because you're part of that network. So it's one of the biggest things that we see in any successful life is how valuable is your network?
Team.
100%. So how can people find out about Tradiepad?
We have lots and lots and lots of info on our website. So we love sharing the knowledge and sharing information. So our website's probably the best place to start. If you Google Tradiepad, there'll be lots and lots of ads for software companies. All the software companies like to piggyback off the I guess the name and the reputation that we've built over the years. But you'll find our website tradiepad.com.au, and we've got one of the pages on our website has a whole bunch of learning material. So we've got some things that can be downloaded around the building the technology platform for the business, like the Tradies technology checklist. A whole bunch of stuff on there. We've got lots and lots of webinars and kind of knowledge articles and stuff on there. So that's a great place to start. And then on our website, we make it really, really easy to connect with us. You can book a call. So we use a booking tool, so you can pick a day and a time for one of our team to give you a ring, to have an initial 15-minute discussion with you at no obligation, no cost. Just have a talk about what you're wanting to achieve and where you're at with your business, and just see if you want to progress to the next stage. So the beauty of that book a call is we don't play phone tag, because phone tag sucks. And we know how busy tradies are. It's that book a call tool has been one of the big game changers for us, of being confident that you've picked a day and a time, you'll get reminded about it, and we know that each of us will be ready to have a discussion at that stage. So we try and make it as easy as we can.
Excellent. So anyone looking for software, the first port of call is don't go with the software vendors. Start with Tradiepad.
Love it. Well, I really appreciate Clinton and Scott, you guys coming on today. This has been a great interview, and I feel like for the viewers it will be a great insight into how they should be approaching software and technology, implementing, integrating, whatever it is. I feel like there was a lot of insight today and a lot of helpful advice. So thanks for jumping on, guys. Appreciate it.
One last thing I'm going to add in. I know this will be a little bit time sensitive for those that are watching this after the fact, but we do have an end of financial year special for this year for half price scoping sessions. So
excellent.
That's up until the end of the financial year. So there's only a few more weeks to go on that one. But for those that are lucky enough to get in before the end of the financial year, there's a half price special on at the moment.
And they can book the 15-minute call and all make it happen straight away. It's very seamless.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you jumping on today.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Have a good one.
Bye.